The wind howled across the barren landscape, carrying with it an eerie chill that sent shivers down the spine of anyone who dared to approach. In the distance, shrouded in a thick fog, stood the forbidden hole. It was unlike anything anyone had ever seen, a dark, swirling vortex set against the backdrop of a dull gray sky. This was not just any hole, it was a legend. Many had heard of it, but no one dared to get close. The stories about the hole were told in hushed tones. Some said it was a portal to another world, while others believed it to be a gateway to certain death. No alien, no matter how powerful, had ever tried to leap through it. The risks were simply too great, and the consequences too unknown. And yet here stood a human and ordinary man, but with an extraordinary sense of curiosity. He had read the stories, studied the ancient records, and now, standing at the edge of the forbidden hole, he felt something that few had felt before. A pull. This man, let's call him Alex, was not afraid. He had spent his entire life searching for something beyond the ordinary, something that would give his life meaning. And this hole, this strange anomaly, seemed like the key to unlocking the mysteries of the universe. The wind was strong now, tugging at his clothes and whipping his hair around his face. But Alex didn't flinch. He had made up his mind. Today he would leap. For as long as Alex could remember, he had been fascinated by the unknown. As a child, he would stare at the stars, wondering if anyone else out there was looking back at him. The hole had been a topic of debate in his world for years. Some believed it was a place of unimaginable power, while others feared it was the end of everything. But Alex was different. He didn't believe in fear. He believed in discovery. In pushing the boundaries of what was possible, the hole stood before him, its swirling edges glowing faintly in the dim light. It wasn't just a hole in the ground, it was a portal, a doorway to something much larger, and Alex knew that stepping through it would change everything. Everyone's too afraid. He muttered to himself, his voice barely audible over the howling wind. But I won't be. He took a deep breath, his heart racing in his chest. The stories said the hole was dangerous. He said it would tear you apart if you didn't have the right knowledge, the right preparation. But Alex had no fear of that. He had prepared for this moment his whole life. He had studied every scrap of data, every ancient text that mentioned the hole. He knew what to expect, or at least, he thought he did. The ground beneath him was uneven, and his feet slipped a little as he approached the edge of the hole. It felt as though the earth itself was trying to stop him, but Alex didn't let that deter him. His hands shook with anticipation as he steadied himself. He had come too far to turn back now. Just a step, he whispered to himself, his voice steady despite the pounding of his heart. One step, and everything will change. The edge of the hole was close now, its swirling depths pulling at him like a magnet. The air grew thick with energy, crackling around him. It was as though the universe itself had held its breath, waiting for him to make his move. And then, in that moment of stillness, he closed his eyes. It wasn't that he was scared. Alex wasn't scared of the unknown. But there was something in that moment that made him feel small, insignificant, in the face of something so vast, so powerful. So he closed his eyes, blocking out everything around him. It was easier that way, easier to focus, to feel the calm in the chaos. The moment stretched on, the only sound, the beating of his heart. His breathing was steady, each inhale a little deeper than the last. He could feel the pull of the hole, like a wave crashing over him. His mind raced with thoughts of what might happen next, but he pushed them aside. He had made his decision. In one swift motion, he leaped. The air rushed past him as he tumbled into the darkness. The world around him became a blur of light and shadow spinning faster and faster. It was as if time itself had no meaning, and the fabric of reality twisted and bent around him. For a moment, he felt weightless, free from the constraints of his world. But then, something changed. The ground rushed up to meet him, and with a sudden thud, he landed. The impact was not as harsh as he expected, but the force of it left him breathless. His eyes snapped open, and he gasped in awe. He was no longer where he had been. The landscape was alien, with strange, twisting structures rising from the ground. The sky above was a deep violet hue, with two moons hanging in the distance. The air smelled different, fresher, yet tinged with something he couldn't quite place. The ground beneath him was soft, almost like moss, but it vibrated with a strange energy that seemed to resonate through his very bones. Alex stood up, looking around in disbelief. He had done it. He had made it through the hole, but what now? What lay ahead in this strange new world? As he took his first steps into the unknown, the sound of something moving in the distance reached his ears. His heart skipped a beat. Wasn't alone. He wasn't sure if he should be excited or terrified, but one thing was clear. His journey had just begun. The air felt different on the other side. It wasn't just the strange landscape or the shimmering violet sky overhead. Was the weightlessness that lingered in his body. Strange, disorienting sensation that made him feel like he was no longer bound by the rules of his world. Alex stood there, looking around, his breath shallow, his heart pounding against his chest. He had made it, but as he began to take in his surroundings, something inside him shifted. This wasn't just a leap across space, it was a leap across reality itself. The world around him looked like a dream world filled with things so strange that Alex couldn't fully comprehend them. Towering structures rose from the ground, their curves and angles unlike anything from Earth. The landscape was rich with color. Yet there was an unnatural quality to it, as if the scenery was being viewed through a lens that distorted everything. He could feel the energy of this place thrumming in the air. It's vibrating through the soles of his boots and into his very bones. But what struck Alex the most wasn't the bizarre structures or the odd hues of the sky. It was the stillness. The oppressive silence that hung over the place, like the world itself was holding its breath. He took a cautious step forward. His feet sank slightly into the ground, which seemed softer than the soil back home, almost like a mix between grass and moss. Each step he took left an imprint, but it was subtle, as if the earth itself were reluctant to reveal its secrets. The path ahead was unclear, winding through what looked like dense, twisted trees that reached out. With long, pale limbs, there were no animals, no insects. Nothing moved. Yet the longer Alex stood there, the more he felt watched, as if unseen eyes were studying his every move. He rubbed his eyes, hoping to clear the fog in his mind. Had he imagined all of this? Was this some kind of dream? But as his gaze fell on the horizon, he realized he was no longer on Earth. There was no way this place could be anything but another world. The quiet was unsettling, like the calm before a storm. Alex adjusted his pack and began walking forward, instinctively looking for signs of life, any indication that someone or something was nearby. But no one appeared. Minutes passed, but it felt like hours. His thoughts raced, trying to piece together what he had just done, what he had just stepped into. He had read the stories, heard the warnings. Forbidden Hole was not just a passage, it was a test. No alien had dared enter. No one had ever survived unscathed. But Alex wasn't like the others. He had come here for a reason. He had to know what lay beyond. And yet, as the silence grew deeper, a part of him began to regret the leap. What had he gotten himself into? Then, without warning, the ground beneath him trembled. It was subtle at first, like the faintest rumble of thunder in the distance, but then it grew stronger, the earth vibrating beneath his feet. Alex froze. His heart stopped for a moment, his instincts telling him to run. His body wouldn't obey. The trees, those strange, towering things that had remained still since his arrival, began to shake. Their long, pale branches rustled like fingers, brushing against the air, a soft, eerie sound that sent chills down his spine. And then, out of the corner of his eye, something moved. A shadow. A shape. A figure. It was too quick for Alex to make out any details. But whatever it was close. He spun around, eyes scanning the surroundings. Nothing, just more trees. More silence. His breathing grew faster, and his palms grew clammy. But still, there was no sign of what had moved. Alex took a step back. His mind raced with questions. Was it an alien? Was it another person? Could it have been something worse, something ancient, something designed to guard the hole, to protect whatever lay on the other side? Suddenly, the air around him shifted. It was a strange feeling, like a low hum that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. The ground trembled again, but this time, it wasn't just a tremor, it was a warning. Alex felt a presence. An undeniable force drawing near. And then, there it was. A figure. Emerging from behind a cluster of twisted, glowing plants. At first, Alex couldn't believe his eyes. It wasn't like anything he had ever seen before. The creature was tall, standing at least 8 feet, with skin that shimmered like liquid silver under the strange light. Its eyes large, unblinking, and a pale, unnatural shade of blue stared directly at him. The creature's body was slim and elongated, covered in smooth, iridescent scales that seemed to shift in the light. It didn't speak. It didn't move. It simply watched. Alex's heart raced, every instinct screaming at him to run, to escape the tension that hung in the air like a trap closing in. But he didn't run. He couldn't. Instead, he stood frozen, watching as the creature's gaze never left him. Time seemed to stretch, the world holding its breath. Alex was certain that if he moved, if he made a sound, something would happen. Something terrible. And then, without warning, the creature spoke. Its voice was soft, melodic, but it carried an undeniable weight. "You shouldn't be here," it said, its words echoing in Alex's mind. "The hole is not meant for your kind." Alex opened his mouth to speak, but no words came. He couldn't form a single thought. This was beyond anything he had prepared for, beyond anything he had expected. The creature took a slow step forward, its eyes never leaving Alex's. It raised one hand, fingers long and delicate, as if to touch him. Alex stood motionless, unsure of what to do next. Whatever was happening here had stepped into a world far more dangerous than he ever imagined, and as the creature reached out, Alex felt the weight of its gaze like 1,000 eyes, staring into the deepest parts of his soul. The creature's hand hovered just inches away from Alex, the air between them crackling with an energy he couldn't begin to understand. Time seemed to slow down, each second stretching out, dragging the moment into eternity. Alex's heart pounded against his ribs, a rhythmic thud that filled his ears. His mind raced with questions, but he could barely focus. Was this alien trying to communicate, or was it preparing to attack? Was it an ally, or had he unknowingly stepped into a dangerous territory where nothing was what it seemed? The creature's voice, smooth and eerie, broke the silence again, its words echoing inside his head as if they were spoken in his very thoughts. "You are not meant to cross into this realm," the creature repeated. "Why do you challenge the laws of the universe?" Alex took a step back, suddenly feeling vulnerable in the presence of this being. He couldn't understand what it meant by laws of the universe, but he had never imagined it would be this dangerous. His instincts screamed at him to leave, to run back to the hole, but the air around him was thick with tension. The creature didn't seem hostile, but its presence was unnerving. I didn't know," Alex said, his voice shaky but determined. "I didn't know this world existed. I just had to know. I had to see it for myself." The alien's glowing blue eyes studied him with an intensity that sent shivers down his spine. It tilted its head slightly as if contemplating his response. A low hum resonated through the ground, vibrating under Alex's feet, and the creature seemed to respond to it. Then, without warning, it stepped forward, its movements fluid and graceful, like a shadow in the dim light. "You should not have come here," the creature said again, its voice growing softer, almost sorrowful. "The hole was not meant for your kind to traverse." Alex's confusion deepened. He had leaped through the hole. Yes, but what did it matter? Was this world really so dangerous? What secrets did it hold that made it so forbidden? He couldn't shake the feeling that there was something crucial he was missing, something he hadn't been told. "I had to come," Alex replied, his voice firmer this time. "Something out there, in the hole in this world, called me. I couldn't stay behind without knowing why, I thought. Thought I could help. Maybe I could stop whatever it is that's destroying everything." The alien's eyes flickered with something. Was it understanding? Perhaps concern? It was hard to tell, as its expression never changed. It remained as still as a statue. its long, pale fingers lightly brushing against the air. "What you seek is not what you think," the creature said cryptically, its gaze narrowing as it watched him. "The hole is not a bridge for you. It was never meant for humans. You cannot turn back once you have crossed it." Alex's stomach clenched. He had crossed the threshold, and now there was no going back. The feeling of being trapped began to settle in. There was no exit, no way out. The only way forward was through this alien world, a place where nothing made sense, where his very presence seemed to cause ripples in the fabric of reality. Then, "What happens now?" Alex asked, his voice quieter, more vulnerable than before. "If I can't go back, what's left for me here? What am I supposed to do in a world I don't understand?" The alien's gaze softened, almost as though it pitied him. "You are not the first to make this mistake," it murmured, its voice growing distant. "You will learn as all who have come before you have learned. That is the fate of those who try to meddle with the whole. You will see things that will change you." A cold shiver ran down Alex's spine. His mind raced as he tried to process what the creature had said. Was it warning him of some unseen danger, or was it preparing him for something far worse? Before he could ask more questions, the creature began to step backward, slowly vanishing into the fog that seemed to linger just beyond the twisted trees. Its form shimmered and flickered as it moved, like a reflection in a pool of water.
Alex
Took a tentative step forward, but then the creature stopped and turned to face him one last time. "Be careful what you seek," it said. "Some knowledge is better left unknown." With that, it disappeared, its form fading into the mist, leaving Alex alone in the strange, silent world. The eerie calm returned, but Alex's mind was anything but calm. He had so many questions, so many uncertainties. The alien had left him with more mysteries than answers. Still, couldn't shake the feeling that the journey was just beginning, that this world, whatever it was, had secrets that called to him. The hole hadn't just been a passage. It had been a doorway to something much larger, something he couldn't yet comprehend. A low rumble echoed from the distance, and Alex turned to see a flicker of movement on the horizon. This time it wasn't the creature? No, this was something different. It was massive, something much bigger, something far more dangerous. Alex's heart raced again. He couldn't tell what it was, but he could feel it, a presence drawing closer. The air grew thick with energy once more, and his hands instinctively reached for the small weapon he carried. His only defense in this alien world, whatever was coming for him. Alex knew one thing: he wasn't alone anymore, and the real test was only just beginning. The world around Alex seemed to pulse with a rhythm of its own, as if the land itself was alive, breathing, and aware of his every movement. The silence that had once felt oppressive now felt like a pressure slowly tightening around him. As he ventured deeper into this alien world, each step seemed to take him further from the life he knew, further into the unknown. And yet, despite the strange landscape and the unease that clung to him, there was something inside Alex that refused to back down. He had made the leap, and there was no going back. The shadows around him grew longer. The soft, moss-like ground beneath his feet became less forgiving, as if it had sensed the change in his resolve. With each passing minute, the sense of being watched intensified. Tidden, perhaps, seemed to be everywhere. The trees, twisted and gnarled, loomed over him like silent sentinels, and the air itself hummed with a strange energy that made the hairs on the back of his neck stand on end. He continued forward, his mind racing with questions that had no answers. What was this place? What had he stepped into, and why was he here? The creature's warning echoed in his thoughts, its cryptic words becoming more and more real with each passing moment. "You are not the first to make this mistake," it had said. But what mistake? And what would happen to him now? As he rounded a corner in the dense alien forest, a sudden flash of light caught his eye. His breath hitched. It was faint at first, barely noticeable, but it was there, glowing softly in the distance. Without thinking, Alex began to move toward it, his steps quickening as the light grew brighter. The air around him felt charged, as though it was leading him to something he needed to see. The further he walked, the more he realized that this was no ordinary light. It was not the reflection of some alien sun or the glow of strange flora. No, this was something deliberate. This light pulsed in patterns, rhythmic and structured, like it was calling him, guiding him. And then, as he approached the source, he felt its an unmistakable presence, something that made the very ground beneath him tremble. The source of the light revealed itself as he pushed through a thicket of vines. It was a structure tall, impossibly perfect, and unlike anything Alex had ever seen before. It was not natural, yet it seemed to blend seamlessly with the environment around it. Towering metallic pillars rose from the ground, their surfaces shimmering with iridescent colors that shifted as if they were alive. The structure was not just a monument, it was a beacon, a signal from the past. Reaching out to him, at the base of this towering structure was a pedestal, and upon it rested a glowing orb, pulsing with the same rhythmic energy that had drawn Alex here. His breath caught in his throat. This was no coincidence. This object was the key to everything. He could feel it deep inside him, a pull so strong that it made his body ache with anticipation. But as he stepped closer, something unexpected happened. The ground beneath his feet trembled again, this time more violently. The trees around him began to sway as if caught in a strong wind, though the air was still. A low, guttural rumble echoed through the air, and Alex instinctively stepped back, his heart racing. It was as if the entire world around him was reacting to his presence, to his proximity to the orb. Suddenly, a voice boomed, deep and ancient, reverberating through the very core of the planet. It wasn't like the alien's voice earlier, it wasn't personal, but more like a universal command. The words were unintelligible at first, a mix of guttural sounds that seemed to twist and turn in the air as though they were coming from the earth itself. And then, as if to answer the silent question in Alex's mind, the voice cleared. "You have found it," the voice said, its tone cold and indifferent. "The key of realms." Alex froze. His pulse raced in his ears. The key of realms? What did it mean? What was this artifact? Why had it called to him? A cold, creeping dread washed over him as he realized the magnitude of what he had stumbled upon. This wasn't just some alien artifact. It was a powerful force, a key to realms beyond his comprehension. The creature had warned him, but now it was too late. He had already made his choice. He had already chosen to leap, to enter this world, and now he had found the very thing that could unravel everything. The voice spoke again, this time louder, more insistent. "You are bound to this world now. The whole was not meant for your kind. The key of realms can only be wielded by those who understand its power, but you do not." Alex's hands clenched at his sides. He couldn't back away now. The orb's glow seemed to pull at him, urging him closer. His body moved on its own, each step toward the pedestal feeling like fate itself was guiding him. He didn't know what would happen if he touched it, but something deep inside told him he had no choice. He had to understand as his fingers brushed the surface of the orb. A shockwave of energy surged through his body, sending him stumbling backward. The world around him seemed to fracture, like cracks forming in a glass window. The air grew heavy, and a blinding light enveloped him, overwhelming all of his senses. In that moment, Alex saw it. Visions flashed before his eyes, glimpses of other worlds, strange landscapes, distant civilizations, and chaotic battles. He saw the whole, but it was no longer just a simple passage. It was a nexus, a convergence of multiple realms, each with its own rules, its own dangers. He saw the destruction that had been unleashed by those who had tried to control the whole, those who had sought the power of the key, and then, just as quickly as it had begun, the vision ended. The light faded, and Alex collapsed to the ground. Gasping for air, the orb's glow dimmed, but the energy still pulsed in the air, as though the entire planet was alive with it. The voice spoke again, but this time it was different, almost sympathetic. "You are in it now, human," the voice said. "The realms are in your hands. But remember this, not all keys should be turned." Alex's mind spun. He had uncovered something far more dangerous than he could have imagined. The key of realms was not just a door, it was a weapon, a force that could destroy everything. And now, he was the one holding it. The world around Alex was no longer a quiet, alien place. Now it felt like a ticking clock, each second passing with a sense of urgency. A weight pressing down on him from every direction. The orb's glow had faded, but its presence was still. There, lingering in the back of his mind, its power vibrating through him like an unspoken command. He couldn't shake the feeling that it was watching him. It was waiting for something. As he stood up, the forest around him began to feel different. The trees no longer seemed to simply sway in the wind. They seemed to lean in toward him, as if listening to his every move. The ground beneath his feet hummed softly, as though the very earth itself was alive, aware of his presence. Alex had come to this place to understand, to seek answers, but now the only thing he felt was a deep sense of foreboding. He needed to find out what the key of realms was truly capable of. But part of him feared that learning more might cost him everything. Suddenly, a rustling noise broke the stillness, and Alex froze. His senses heightened, every nerve on edge. The movement came from behind him, quick and deliberate, like the steps of someone or something intent on finding him. Without thinking, Alex turned and crouched low, his breath shallow, trying to remain undetected. But it was no use. The creature, another alien, but unlike the first, stepped out from the shadows, its silhouette outlined by the dim, flickering light. This one was shorter, its skin a darker shade of blue, covered in intricate markings that seemed to shift and change as it moved. Its eyes, glowing white like the stars, locked onto Alex with an intensity that made his pulse quicken. "You," the alien said in a voice that was deep, calm, yet somehow chilling. "You have found it. You have touched the key." Alex stood up, his body tense, unsure of whether to confront the creature or run. I didn't mean to," he said, his voice betraying the uncertainty he felt. "I only wanted to understand. What is this place? What is the key of realms?" The alien tilted its head slightly, studying Alex. "You are foolish," it said. "But you are also curious, just like the others. You think that by seeking answers, you will gain control. But the truth, human, is that no one controls thee. Key it controls them." The words sent a chill through Alex's spine. He had been warned, but now it was clear that the key was more than just an artifact. It was a force. Something far older, far more dangerous than he could comprehend. "I don't understand," Alex said, his voice filled with frustration. "What do you mean it controls me? What is the key?" The alien's eyes glowed brighter, and it stepped closer to Alex, its form shifting in and out of focus like a mirage. "The key of realms is not just a passageway, a door to other worlds," it explained, its voice resonating with a strange power. "It is a weapon, a tool of unimaginable destruction. It has existed for eons, hidden away from those who would seek to use it for their own ends. But you're kinder different. You have unlocked the potential within it. And now, you will pay the price." Alex's breath caught in his throat. "What price?" he asked, his voice barely a whisper. The alien's expression softened, almost sorrowful. "The price of knowledge. The price of meddling with forces that should never be disturbed. You have opened a door, and once it is open, it cannot be closed. You cannot go back to the life you knew. The moment you touched the key, you were marked." Alex's mind reeled. The weight of the alien's words sank in like a stone. He had thought the leap through the hole had been a journey of discovery, but now it felt like a curse, a mistake that could not be undone. "The realms are fractured. Human," the alien continued, its voice growing more intense. "The key has the power to unite them, but it also has the power to shatter them. And there are those who will stop at nothing to take it from you. You are a target now. Your existence here is a ripple in the fabric of reality, and those who control the realms will come for you." Alex's heart raced, his mind spinning. Was this why the hole had been forbidden? Was this why no alien had dared cross through it? Had he unknowingly unleashed something catastrophic by touching the key? "What do I do now?" Alex asked, his voice full of desperation. How do I stop it? The alien's gaze hardened, and for the first time, Alex saw something flicker in its eyes fear. You cannot stop it. Not alone, the creature said. You must find the others who are marked. Only together can you hope to understand the true nature of the key and the consequences of using it. The others? Alex asked. Who are they? Where are they? The alien paused, its eyes narrowing. They are scattered across the realms, hidden, waiting for the one who will lead them. You must seek them out, but be warned. There are those who will stop at nothing to prevent you from uniting the key's true bearers. Before Alex could speak again, the alien's figure began to fade, dissolving into the mist, as if it were never truly there at all. The only trace of it was the lingering echo of its words in his mind. Find them. Before they find you. The air around Alex grew colder, the ground beneath him trembling once again. The weight of what he had learned crushed him. The Key of Realms wasn't just a doorway, was a weapon of unimaginable power, and now he was the one who held it. But with it came a responsibility far beyond anything he could have imagined. Alex looked around, a strange alien landscape stretching out before him like a labyrinth of endless possibilities. Somewhere out there, he had to find the others, those who were also marked, those who held the key to unlocking the true potential of the Key of Realms. But there was no time to waste. The pursuit had begun, and Alex knew that the future of all the realms was in his hands. The world around Alex seemed to pulse with an intensity he had never felt before. The ground beneath his feet vibrated with an energy so powerful that it rattled his bones, and the air shimmered with an unnatural glow. Every sound, every movement was magnified, as though the universe itself was holding its breath, waiting for his next move. The weight of his decision hung over him like a storm cloud, dark and oppressive. He had learned the truth. The Key of Realms was no mere artifact. It was a weapon, a tool capable of shattering and uniting worlds. The alien had warned him, had told him that he was marked, that he was a target. And yet, despite all the dangers, despite the threat of unimaginable consequences, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that he was the only one who could stop what had been set in motion. But how? How could he, a single human, stand against forces that had existed for eons? What did he have that could possibly match the power of the key and the ancient beings who sought to control it? The more Alex thought about it, the more it seemed like there was no way out. The realms were fractured, torn apart by the very power that he had unleashed. And if the wrong hands found the key, if those who sought to use it for their own gains succeeded, the entire fabric of reality would collapse. Alex clenched his fists, his mind racing. The alien's words echoed in his head. You cannot stop it, not alone. The truth was undeniable. He couldn't do this on his own. He needed help, but finding the others who were marked would be no simple task. The alien had said they were scattered across the realms, hiding, waiting. But where? Were they? How could he find them in a world so vast, so fragmented? And even if he found them, would they trust him? Would they be willing to join forces with a human, someone who had stumbled into this mess by accident? Alex didn't have the answers. All he knew was that he had no choice. He had to try. But the danger was real. The creatures who sought to control the key were closing in. They were powerful, ruthless, and they would stop at nothing to prevent Alex from succeeding. And with each passing moment, the walls around him seemed to close in tighter, the air growing thicker with tension. As Alex stood there, lost in thought, the ground beneath him trembled once more. The vibration was so intense that he nearly lost his balance. He looked around, his heart pounding, his senses on high alert. There was no mistaking it. Something was coming. The trees around him swayed violently, their twisted branches snapping like brittle bones. A low, guttural sound filled the air, reverberating through the ground and into Alex's chest. It was the sound of something massive moving through the forest, something powerful, something ancient. Alex's instincts screamed at him to run, but he knew there was nowhere to hide. He had no time to waste. The moment of reckoning had arrived. From the shadows emerged a figure, tall and menacing. Its eyes glowed with an eerie red light, its body wrapped in dark, shifting armor that seemed to pulse with energy. It was one of them, the ones who sought to control the key. Alex had seen creatures like this before in the visions. They were merciless, unstoppable. The creature spoke in a voice that was both cold and commanding. "You have been warned, human. You should never have come here." Alex stood his ground, his heart hammering in his chest. "I won't let you control it," he said, his voice steady despite the fear gnawing at him. "The key belongs to no one. Not you, not anyone." The creature's laugh was low and mocking, but there was no humor in it. "It's foolish," it sneered. "The key belongs to the realms. You are nothing but an insect caught in a web you do not understand." Alex's hand instinctively went to the weapon he had brought with him, a small handheld device that had been given to him by the alien who had warned him earlier. It was a last-ditch effort, a way to defend himself in case things went wrong. But now, facing the creature before him, it felt inadequate, insignificant. "You cannot defeat me," the creature said, stepping closer, its presence overwhelming. "You have no power here, no understanding of what you are dealing with." But Alex didn't flinch. He'd come too far, made too many sacrifices to turn back now. He had to stop this, no matter the cost. "I don't need to defeat you," Alex said, his voice stronger than before. "I just need to stop you from getting what you want." In that moment, everything shifted. The air around them crackled with energy, and the ground trembled once again. Alex didn't know what he was doing, but his instincts guided him, pushing him to act. He pressed a button on the device, and a bright, blinding light erupted from it, engulfing the creature in its glow. For a moment there was nothing but silence. The creature staggered back, its form flickering like a flame caught in the wind. Alex's breath caught in his throat. Was it working? Was he actually stopping it? But then, with a roar of fury, the creature lunged toward him, faster than Alex could react. Its hand shot out, grabbing him by the throat and lifting him off the ground. The pressure in his neck was suffocating, and Alex struggled to breathe, his vision blurring at the edges. "You are nothing," the creature hissed, its grip tightening. "You're just a pawn in a game you do not understand." Alex's vision faded as the creature's grip grew stronger. His thoughts became a blur, and for a moment he thought it might be the end. But then something inside him snapped. The energy from the key, the power that had been pulsing within him since he first touched it, surged to the surface, flooding his entire body with a force he couldn't control. With a scream of pure willpower, Alex reached deep within himself. Tapping into the power of the key, in an instant the creature's grip loosened. Alex fell to the ground, gasping for air. The world around him shifted, the energy of the key overwhelming everything in its path. The creature recoiled, its form flickering and warping as if it were being pulled apart by the very force it sought to control. "You can't stop me," the creature growled, but there was fear in its voice now, fear that hadn't been there before. Alex stood, his body trembling but his resolve stronger than ever. "I don't need to stop you," he said, his voice quiet but unwavering. "I just need to survive, and I will." The creature now weakened, hesitated. And for the first time, Alex saw Itan opening, a chance to push back, to turn the tide in his favor. And as the creature began to retreat, Alex made a decision. He would fight, not just for his survival, but for the future of all the realms. He would find the others, unite them, and together they would face whatever came next, because the true battle was just beginning. The winds were howling once again, but this time it was different. The air crackled with an energy so thick that it felt as though the very atmosphere was alive. Alex stood at the center of a chaotic battlefield, his body aching, his mind reeling. From everything he had learned and every decision he had made, the key of realms pulsed in his chest, its power vibrating through his veins, filling him with an overwhelming sense of urgency. The creature, the one that had come for him, the one that had sought to destroy him, was gone, but its presence lingered like a shadow in the air. In its wake, the world had begun to fracture, and the hole, the very thing that had brought him to this alien world, had begun to expand, to open wider. It had been dormant, hidden for so long, but now it was awake, and it threatened to swallow everything in its path. Alex turned his gaze back to the hole, the swirling vortex that had once been a source of mystery and fear. He could feel the pull of it stronger than ever before, as if it were calling to him, beckoning him to step inside. But this time, the hole wasn't just a passage to another world. It was a force, a living, breathing entity with a hunger for chaos and destruction. If it was not sealed, if it was not closed, the realms themselves would collapse into one another, and everything he had fought for would be lost. His thoughts raced. He had come so far. He had discovered the truth about the key, about the power it held, and about the responsibilities that came with it. But now, standing before the hole, the final decision lay with him. He could step through it, leave this world behind, and return to the life he had once known, nor he could close it forever, sealing the realms away and ensuring that no one, not even those who sought to control the key, could use it again. The decision wasn't easy. Everything in him screamed to turn away, to escape, to go back to Earth, where things were familiar, where life was predictable. But deep down, Alex knew there was no going back. The hole had already changed him. The power of the key had already marked him. And if he didn't act, if he didn't do something now, he would be no different than the others who had tried to control at those who had failed. The realization hit him like a wave, crashing over him with full force. The key was not a tool of power. It was a responsibility, a duty, and a warning. A warning that some things were not meant to be controlled, that some forces were too great to be tampered with. But it wasn't just about stopping the hole. It was about more than that. It was about saving the realms, saving the very fabric of reality from tearing apart. It was about ensuring that future generations would not face the same consequences, the same temptation to meddle with forces they didn't understand. Alex stepped forward, his legs unsteady but resolute. The key pulsed in his chest, guiding him. He could feel the immense power it held, but it was no longer a power he sought to control. It was a power that he had to let go of. It was a force that had to be sealed, buried deep beneath the surface of existence, never to be used again. The hole was growing larger, swirling faster, threatening to consume the entire landscape. The air hummed with an energy that made Alex's skin tingle. It was almost as if the world itself was fighting against him, urging him to abandon his mission, to turn away. But Alex didn't turn away. As he approached the edge of the hole, a voice, the same deep, ancient voice from before, echoed in his mind, a warning. You cannot close the hole, human. You are too weak. The key belongs to the realms. It cannot be sealed by your kind. Alex gritted his teeth, his heart pounding in his chest. The voice was strong, almost mocking, but he didn't let it break him. He'd already learned too much, experienced too much. This was his moment, his final test. He could feel the key's power guiding him, reminding him of what was at stake. No, Alex said, his voice steady but filled with conviction. It's not your choice anymore. This ends now. With a swift motion, he raised his hand, and the orb in his chest began to glow brighter, pulsing in time with the energy surrounding the hole. The ground trembled beneath him, but Alex didn't falter. He focused, pulling every ounce of strength he had, every lesson he had learned, every sacrifice he had made. The key of realms was not his. To wield it was his to protect. And now, it was time to lock it away, to keep it safe from those who would use it for destruction. The light from the orb surged forward, a brilliant beam of pure energy that struck the center of the hole. The air rippled with the force of it, and the ground cracked beneath Alex's feet as the hole began to shrink, collapsing inward on itself. For a moment, everything stopped. The wind died down. The vibrations ceased. The energy in the air faded into stillness, and then, with a deafening roar, the hole imploded, the darkness and chaos swallowing itself whole. The silence that followed was deafening. Alex stood there, his body trembling, his heart racing, staring at the empty space where the hole had once been. The vortex was gone, the realm-shattering force that had threatened to tear. Everything apart had been sealed. He had done it. But as the dust settled, Alex couldn't shake the feeling that something had changed, something deep within him. The hole had been closed, but its legacy would remain. The realms were safe for now, but the power of the key could never be forgotten. And Alex knew that there would always be those who would seek it, those who would try to unlock its secrets. As the alien world around him began to quiet, Alex felt a deep sense of peace settle over him. He had made the right choice. He had chosen the future over the past, responsibility over power, and yet as he turned to leave, there was a final whisper. A voice he hadn't expected to hear. "Thank you." Alex paused, turning slowly, but there was no one there. Only the empty, silent world. And as he stepped away, leaving the remnants of the hole behind, he knew that his journey was far from over. The realms were safe for now, but the balance between them was fragile, and there would always be more to discover. The key of realms had been closed, but the story was just beginning.